Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest live episode of VOX VOMITUS. I am your host, Jennifer Ann Gordon, the author of the Kindle award-winning novel Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, as well as Pretty Ugly and the Japanese Box and Other Stories. Joining me today, as always, is my VOX VOMITUS vixen, Allison Martine, author of The Bourbon Books, which includes Dibs Since September, Move on Melinda, and Climb the Salmon Ladder. Joining us today, we have a creature double feature is what I wanted to call it, but that's the horror
double
person.
header, not
double header.
Come on.
But you have to understand, I grew up outside of Boston, and every Saturday and Sunday we had creature double feature on our TV. So that's the only double thing I know. Anyways, no creatures involved. We do have a double header. We have Lyn Liao Butler here to celebrate her book that came out yesterday, What Is Mine? And also returning to VOX VOMITUS, A.Aymar, A.Aymar, When She Left. Also, both of your books came out yesterday.
Yep.
Shoot, I'm doing it wrong.
I know.
Oh.
I'm not coordinated for this part.
I tried to do, so Lyn, you'll see I posted something, or I will be posting something on Instagram where I tried to be that. It
Can't do it.
didn't work. Welcome to VOX VOMITUS.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
So I love this, Ed. We wanted you back because you were here before for your last book, No Home for Killers, which I also have right here. So we of course asked you back, and you said, you know what, my friend Lyn also has a book coming out on the same day, and I was shocked, Ed, that you were willing to share the spotlight.
Everybody was. We're like, really?
I was like,
I said
what did
friend
you
and not
do with Ed?
acquaintance.
There's a
And I've heard
person
of
that
before.
that my publicist said I should no.
No, actually, no. I love Lyn. We met. I don't know how we met. I think
No,
we met
we're
on social
birthday
media.
twins last year too. Our books came out. We have the same editor.
That's what it was.
And
That's what we
okay,
met last
both-
year.
Yeah.
Both
So-
Thomas and Mercer. And do they make you share an editor and a hotel room when you guys go to things like 2 for 1 everywhere?
They don't pay for a
They
hotel.
don't.
They're like, you guys can fend for yourselves at BoucherCon.
Exactly. But
But
that's
no,
how,
I guess that's
we
how.
had
I
the
thought I
same
knew you
birthday.
before that.
no, we had the same birthday last year too.
Book
Wait,
birthday.
Crime Writers of Color though.
I love how the birthday's only 1 year.
Yeah.
Crime Writers of Color, right? Didn't
No.
we?
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah. See.
Yes.
Yeah. You forgot, but I remembered.
Okay.
Ed
We
wrote
met-
it in his journal.
Yeah.
We met in high school.
The day I met Lyn.
You met in high
Not
school.
me.
Oh my gosh. Well, here's the plot of one of your next books, where next year, when both of your books are supposed to be coming out, if one of you is missing, we'll know
Yes.
that we had
I
some
know.
jealousy going on.
Lyn, lock your doors.
Really.
Yeah,
Lyn?
it'll be
No,
Lyn.
I have a very dark mind. I
Okay.
have things, so watch
Perfect.
out, Ed.
Who knows?
Oh, I love it.
Ed's
Um,
face.
We've already gone off the rails, which is my favorite thing to do.
We never
here.
start on the rails. I don't know why you say that. It implies that we had rails.
We had rails.
We're like
Um,
we're the submarine, just do.
I didn't talk about the
Where are we showing
rapture
up?
as we went live. I'm
Hey, that's
I'm
fine.
waiting now. 3
That's
minutes in. The rapture.
It's fine.
It's not the worst thing I've said when a show starts.
Oh, poor James Rollins.
So poor James Rollins. I don't know. I always feel bad even saying this on a show, but it's hilarious. I said the word anal gland right as we went live.
It was veterinarian related.
It was
science.
veterinarian related.
We're educated.
About dogs, right?
It was about dogs.
Dog, anal gland expression.
Yes, that is
Dr.
what I was
Ben.
saying as Allison's
Yes.
like, and we're live.
I know.
I'm
This
like,
is the problem when I push the button and she's still talking. It's like,
How
and I
does,
can't
vet,
see anything.
how does the vet do that? Because they're like, I can express or whatever the dog's anal
No,
glands.
let's
And I'm
not
like, I
get
don't
into
Let's-
know what
we,
that
uh,
means.
No.
We're gonna segue away from this, but we're gonna.
You don't
keep-
like science?
No, I went
Not
to
that kind,
theater.
no.
Do you think I liked science?
I like
Um,
science, but there's too much math involved, so I
much math?
don't do it.
We're gonna take the dog thing and we're gonna segue into Lyn's book.
Yes.
It's a
Oh,
dog.
it's
There's
dog.
That is
Oh.
fine because there are dogs. There are
Lots
dogs.
of dogs.
There's two
So
dogs.
there are 2 dogs. Lyn, tell us, non-spoilery about the book, but more importantly about you, and then about the book, which is obviously very important.
Well, I can tell you how I got the story is so it's about a 9-year-old boy and his dog Mochi who disappear from their driveway, and then the search for them like makes two women's lives collide that didn't know each other. And the reason I wrote this book, Ed was like, how can you write kidnapping stories? Because I have a 11-year-old now, but he was 8 when the pandemic started, and we fostered 17 dogs during the pandemic.
Oh,
Not all at once, right?
Not all at once, over the
just checking, I'm like,
2-year period.
that's a kid's book if it's 17 dogs all at once. That is, it's the darkest thriller you've
Right.
ever read.
And he cried every time they left. And with this one couple, they were so nice. And they were like, we love him. He's so great. And they were like, try to give him the dog back because he cried. And then they sent him a box of toys. And in my head, I'm going, oh, that's so nice. And I'm like,
But what if they were
and
psychopaths?
they come back and they steal him from my driveway with his dog. And then my mind went deeper and darker. And then, yeah.
I love that was like the birth of this story. Like, what if they, and it's such a beautiful story until that moment when you're just like, they could be crazy.
Until the thriller writer
they
comes in and just ruins all of it. And
they obviously, this couple, I must like be on my newsletter because they found out that my dog Mochi, who is named after dog, my Mochi died in October, and she texted me to say, "I'm so sorry. I see you have a new book out." I'm like, "Don't read it.
Please don't read it." That's when you go back and the part where it says all characters are fictional. You make that really big print. You're like, I especially mean you guys. I love you. I'm sorry.
I want to ask a quick question here. Have any of you ever been told something like a story or something in confidence and then written about it, forgetting who told you the story, and then later
Yes.
been confronted?
Yes, 100%. Like the very core plot of my debut novel, Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, came from something somebody told me in college about.
But you don't know who?
I can't remember his name, but then somebody I was friends with who was also there was like, didn't that guy tell you a story about his uncle getting away with murder? Because he was like a cop and the cops like covered it up. And I was like, yeah, that was like, obviously it happens all the time, but it was a very specific thing that at that moment I was like, I'm going to write a ghost story about this. Like, what if somebody gets away with murder, except the ghost haunts him for like 70 years?
For his entire life. And I've ripped stuff from people's stories or like my own stuff. And there are things that are in my romance novels that are like ex-boyfriend related that now some of my other friends have married those ex-boyfriends, and I hope they don't keep reading. I'm like, sorry about that. He's nice now, I swear.
Awkward.
Not like
like she's posted on her honeymoon with him. The book before that one, I'm like,
my
don't read
God,
that.
You're not giving away like intimate secrets.
No,
yeah, are they like how did you know about the
tricks?
Curve of his?
Ed,
Are you talking about Chad?
No, he's talking about.
But yeah, like things like that. And I go, it's somebody who's a friend but not super close, because I mean, you generally don't date your super close friends' exes, but
well, when you live in a really small state, it happens a lot.
Well, we're in California, so I should have.
Lynn, what about you? Have you betrayed your friends' confidence or families?
Oh,
No.
wow.
Other than
like these two?
I did. My family, so my second book, the premise of it is based on an old family secret.
Not anymore.
And I wrote it in there, but my parents, they don't speak English very well, so they've never read my book, right?
Oh, that's how Jennifer gets away with stuff.
Yeah, but just recently, one of her friends is like, I'm going to make you read this. And so she just read my first book. It's like, oh, I'm almost done with the first. I'm going to read the second. I'm like,
no, definitely. That was like, I was so scared when my books became audiobooks because my mom, who English is her second language, I don't think she would read it anyways because she doesn't like not nice things.
Like you.
But I'm like, oh, what if she realizes she can just say, hey, Alexa, play blah, blah, blah. And then she's going to go, oh, that's based on me. And I'm going to go like, pew, pew.
I love you, Mom.
Love you. So Ed, you asked the question, which makes me want to know why you asked
Yep.
this question. Why did you deflect so much right away?
I actually haven't done that.
Oh,
It's just something I worry about.
He's like, because I'm a nice person.
Yeah, I'm honorable, but
Very much so.
it's no. Also I suppose I just have really boring friends who don't
Aw.
have interesting
Sorry,
stories to
Ed.
share. I hope they're
Oh,
not.
Thanks, Ed.
No,
That's a good book.
I have thought about it, but a
Uh-huh.
lot of those stories are very specific, and I can't really put them into.
They don't
what I'm
translate to other
working on.
situations.
Yeah, I will take. I'm trying to think if I've taken characters. I think I told you the story of when we had. I'll make it quick. We had when my kid was a baby, and then we had a nanny, and the nanny's best friend came by, and I always use actors' photos for my characters as like a physical reference.
Yeah.
And I saw her, and I couldn't figure out who the protagonist of this book looked like. And I saw this woman, Cindy, and I was like, oh my God, that's her. That's who I'm talking about. So I went on Facebook and I found her, and then it's not creepy,
Stalker or
and-
creepy at all.
not creepy.
Going.
And then I printed out her picture and hung it on my wall.
Not creepy. Not creepy.
Not
No.
creepy. And it was
And then I
fine
drew a hearts around
until
it, and then my wife came in.
my wife saw it, and she's like, "Why do you have a picture of
What's
Cindy
going
on
on
the
there?
wall?"
That I love that story, and now I
Yeah.
feel like I want to steal that story
Mhm.
and start something from there where the wife just walks in and you're not there and sees it and thinks,
You
"Oh my goodness,
That would be. You should.
let's mine." Sorry,
Mine.
mine.
I call dibs.
Call.
I mean, it was on the wall with a lot of photos of people, so
A
she
lot of other photos of her,
of
Cindy.
friends of her friends.
Of her house,
Printing out like
of
that
the Google
background
Maps of her road.
Yes.
Yeah, of like where it's like this isn't how Facebook works, where you just put all the pictures on your wall. That's not how Facebook works. Ed. It's like
Yes.
on the
Well, my
computer.
internet was down, and I was just lonely.
I was-
Now the problem is if you then start having like the red lines connecting them, and you're doing this, and people go, "Ed, that's not all right."
And they're like, "Why do all the strings of yarn just go directly to Ed's house?" That's a weird thing
When
for
you
a
see those,
character
Totally
inspiration.
when you see those on TV shows, the like red, the red line and everything, doesn't it just seem like so much work?
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to draw
like-
directly on my wall if I'm going to do that.
Yeah, no, and I can't untangle yarn. That's just like I'm the kind of just starts cutting it. So mine would be all these little short pieces because I can't be bothered to have like a long piece. Like, it's
That's
not
a perfect visualization of what being a pantser is actually like. Just going, that didn't work. Just
Yarn.
cut the string.
don't worry about that. Now, so Ed, though, but some of your characters some of them are kind of bilingual, and some of them are like we've kind of lost some of the Spanish. So you didn't have anybody that you can say no hablo inglés and hope that they don't know the story that you're telling about them, because that would have been a really good out.
Yeah, you're right. Well, they're kind of bilingual because I'm only kind of bilingual, so
Yeah, me too.
that's where
My
I get that.
bilinguality I lost like a long time ago, and I'm like, I know just enough to argue with captions on shows. Like we just finished a show that had some Spanish. I'm like, that is not what was said. That is incorrect.
I always say I knew just enough that when I knew my mom was saying something that I shouldn't know, like I'm just like, my brain was just like, click in, figure out the words that you're not supposed to really understand.
You're like,
The naughty ones.
yes, those are always the bad words we learn first. It's like I know a couple words in certain languages. That's like literally all I know because your friends taught you like this is how you curse in Hebrew.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
In Hebrew. Well, after we're not live, I'll tell you the beautiful phrase my Russian husband taught me that he
Just
said
say it to his parents.
this to say to his parents that he told me meant you have a lovely home. Thank you for
Doesn't
inviting me.
What's it really
It did
mean?
not. It did not mean that.
Did not mean that.
And I'm not going to say it on the air. And I said the words anal glands earlier. So that's
That's
just
fine.
that's telling you.
Does
So
that
Ed,
phrase also involve anal glands?
It may, but in Russian,
similar area. Ed,
Oh,
tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about when she left. I almost held up the wrong book.
So when she left is the story of a pair of young lovers. Actually, let's say couple because lovers is gross. A
Lovers,
young
like
couple on the
they're
run.
called Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, from a group of criminals because the woman in the couple has left her boyfriend, who is a rising star in that criminal organization, and they hire a reluctant hitman / real estate agent to track them down.
My new boyfriend.
Oh no, I called dibs.
You got
I called
That's
dibs.
just because your book is named Dibs doesn't mean you can call it.
Yes, it does. Having written the book named Dibs, I call dibs on everything I want.
There was
It's
a
what
weird
I
thing.
like.
Let me ask you two, since you read it. So when our editor Jessica read it, she was like, she got back to me and she's like, you know who I picture in this role is oh shoot, what's his
I'm
name?
such a freak. I'm like,
Dave Bautista, and I was
oh,
like, Dave
oh.
Bautista.
I think he's
No.
too tough looking.
No,
Yeah,
Lucky
person-
is way more average
Lucky,
looking.
yeah,
He
yeah.
has to be a realtor. Nobody is buying a house from Dave
Yes.
Bautista. I love Dave Bautista, but he is like,
Yeah.
you look at
He
him
has
and
to be
go,
a little more sad. Like,
You know who
Definitely a
my
little bit more
reference was?
sad.
Who was the guy? Did you see Succession?
Yes.
Who was the guy who was the Lynn doesn't watch TV. The we're gonna talk about that. The he was the guy who won in the end. No spoilers.
Matthew McFadden.
Yes.
Oh my God. If he was just like a tiny
now
bit
I gotta
buff.
look it up. If he was just a tiny bit buff.
Just a tiny bit, not a lot, not at all. 'Cause
Did
he was
Matthew
also my
McFadden?
favorite Mr. He's Mr. Darcy too from Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, he's a Darcy. They're all Darcy.
Oh, that would be a good choice. Also, he is my Succession boyfriend. I know
That's
that
who you picked.
he was. He
I mean,
would
there
be
weren't a lot of good
looking.
options.
But is he on your wall or just random nannies?
He was on the wall.
Friends of
Not
nannies.
Friends
Not
of-
even
That's
nannies.
not a
Nannies.
word.
Not her nanny. That would be weird.
Yeah, just her friends.
just
Hi, can you invite more of your friends over to my house? I'm a writer.
I just want to take a photo.
I'm a writer. It's like saying I'm a
Good
photographer.
looking people.
I'm a photographer. Okay, sorry.
Okay, I'm looking him up. His name is McFadden. What?
No, McFadden.
But isn't it
Looks
spelled
like a-
FAYD?
Yeah,
It's
F.A.Y..
M-A-Y.
And that's confusing to me. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, it's Matthew McFadden, something like that.
But
Well,
DYE.
he's Scottish and Welsh. That explains the unnecessary vowels.
He
Now-
does a good American accent.
Do
I
you
will
all?
see him
How do
doing
you all make your characters? Real. What is it for you that like?
I
do you have
start
any
with
kind
Adam Driver,
Really?
and then I start with somebody that I would like to be, and I
Mhm.
start there and then figure it out.
That's generally it, yeah.
We do
Or I
like some
put
people
m-
do like a biographical, like I fill out a DMV form and put in all this fake
No.
information.
Oh,
And I'm not doing like the D&D character role and what is their intrigue strength and roll for self. No, I'm not doing that. That's my husband's
I
gig. I
will
don't do that.
say I did go to school for theater, and we used to have to do these really in-depth character profiles for like every character we would play. I don't do that. So
No, and I usually
not that at all.
I steal actors too, and sometimes people from my real life. So it's usually a combo thereof. And sometimes until I can hear them and see how they move, I can't really write them. So until
I need the sound of the voice.
I need the sound of their voice. I need their mannerisms
Yeah.
to know what they're doing and all that stuff. And then I'll be asking my friends, I'm like, okay, so how do you describe what she's doing? Because I don't really know what that is, and I need help here. So I usually
I do that, and I do my homework, my writer homework. I do 5 core memories.
core memories. What is this? Inside Out?
It is. It's a little bit
Okay, it is.
inside out.
All right.
I'm like, and it's a little bit Pixar montage.
You are very Pixar montage, which is why you liked my original opening that my ex-agent didn't like so much. You're like,
I know
this is
where
a
I'm like,
Pixar
it's a
montage.
Pixar
You didn't
montage,
get it.
except
It's all right.
sad.
Fine.
So you
Yeah.
do 5 core memories for each character?
Yeah, for main
main ones.
characters.
Interesting.
Not for a guy
Yeah.
who just shows up.
And they
twice.
can be and what I loved about like thinking about core memories, because I think about my own core memories, it's sometimes they're not really important. Sometimes it's just
But
something
still
very random.
Mhm.
So yeah, I do that for every main character.
What do you
Wow.
do? Lynn?
I don't do anything.
That's better.
So
That's actually the better choice.
I just start writing, and then
Oh, see,
it'll
that's
come.
the better
It'll
choice.
come as I go, and because they change. Like sometimes I'll
Answer.
start off like one way, and then as I do it, I mean, I have like a character sheet. I'll start adding things to it. as it comes
Character
to me.
sheet. Sorry,
So,
I'm like,
yeah.
that sounds organized, like something
Yeah,
I should
no,
do.
like
Yeah.
planning.
That
like a
doesn't-
show Bible.
Yeah,
So
but it
you have
doesn't.
their-
It kind of like happens as I'm writing the story, because someone that I thought was going to be very prim and proper ends up being like some, completely different by halfway through. So
Okay, so Lyn, I was looking at your webpage, which is like scrolling below here, and we have your thriller, but you are all over the map genre-wise.
I am. I'm confused.
There's like rom-coms there. So is your writing approach, because I write in two genres too. So like I only have romances out, but I still think of myself as a speculative author.
Uh-huh.
And so my writing process is different for both. Is yours when you jump between the two? Because I'm like, this is not a rom-com.
Yeah, that's not a rom-com.
Not a rom-com.
I started off as
This wasn't hilarious to you and romantic?
There was a love
romantic.
story in there.
There were dogs. And
Boy
kind of
and
a
his
meet
dog.
cute.
That is the story we all needed. But
Exactly. A
but
boy
even
and
the
his dog.
cover told me, like the one like crazy Bao Yu. I was just like, okay, first off, there's food involved. I'm here.
Yeah, I did not start. So I started off as a book club fiction author, like
Mhm.
upmarket women's fiction. That's my first two books. And then during Ed just heard this last night. During the third book, when I was writing it, it happened during the pandemic. And my husband is
And everything got dark.
yes, and my husband's a firefighter for the FDNY in New York.
Is he on the cover of your book?
Yeah, that's not him. That is not him.
I was like, oh.
I did not use him. But so he was busy, doing all those first responder thing. And so I was pandemic homeschooling an 8-year-old, and I got
I'm sorry.
That sounds
Yes,
hilarious.
exactly. And I started to get stabby, and I
Mhm.
started getting like so I started killing people in the
Yeah.
book, and then I
In the
added
book.
In the book. In
I
the
love
book.
that you got to finish that sentence,
in the
Lyn.
book, yes, I
In the
had
book,
accidental
enunciate.
murder, intentional murder, and then my agent's like, Lyn, this is not feel good family drama. She's like, I think you wrote a thriller. So I call it my accidental thriller.
Mhm.
And then after I wrote that, I wrote another one. But then I was like, you know what? I need to switch genre. I need to get to like happily ever after now, after all this killing. So then I was like,
You do.
I'm going to write a rom-com. And my agent's like, you can't keep switching genres. But she's like, you
You
write.
figure it out.
Yeah.
You're my agent.
Exactly. And she's like, you know what? You keep writing. I'll just try to sell whatever you want to write. So
I love that. So I have to ask, like, were you ever asked to like change your name, do a pen name,
Oh,
change
I
was gonna ask the
the
same thing.
branding?
we took my last name off for the rom-com. So
Okay.
it's just Lyn Liao. So my rom-coms are going to be under Lyn Liao.
I like that, yeah.
Meghan, she did suggest
That
but
does
she-
sound more rom-commy.
Yeah. Right. And she said that because I'm a woman of color, she's like, you already have so much harder time getting your name out there that you're going to dilute your brand if you start taking on all these pen names. And I
Yeah.
agree with her. I was like, I didn't want to change my name. I don't mind dropping my, married name.
Yep.
So I'm going to be like John.
He can go.
I'm going to be like John Cougar Mellencamp. I'm going to be Lyn Butler, Lyn Liao Butler, Lyn Liao.
And then Lyn Butler.
And then just Lyn.
Yeah.
And then just a
And then
symbol
just
like
the artist
this.
known as Lyn.
just
Yeah.
like an L, but kind of stylized like Laverne from Laverne. and
It should be
Shirley.
Lyn.
God.
John
Well,
Cougar
and that's what I-
Mellencamp go
that's
by
what
other
I-
names?
What?
What?
Does John Cougar Mellencamp go by other names?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
they
he's John Cougar Mellencamp, John Cougar, John Mellencamp.
Yeah, he can't decide if he's a
can't decide.
feline or not.
And sometimes just John.
Yeah.
So
And by
sometimes
that I
just-
mean just John. This
Yeah.
is
Ed's curious because he has iTunes on in his headphones
Yes,
and
and
he's
he
trying
doesn't
to
know
figure out
anything.
exactly what to look
just
up
in
right
this
now
one. This
to
one.
get
No,
Jack
and-
and Diane.
Nice.
And Lyn, I do the same thing because my romances are down. Like that's why my full name's down there because I'm Allison Martine for romance because Hubbard is like the least romantic last name sounding ever. And Martine's just my middle name. And then when I eventually, assuming I get a book deal for science fiction, I'll be by A.M. Hubbard, hoping
Oh,
someone thinks I'm related to L. Ron Hubbard. Which,
Right.
But not Scientologist.
But not Scientology, but he's
Like
known
the
in the
slippery
science fiction
slope.
community. And I want to be like somebody picking up like, did L. Ron Hubbard have a new book or is this his child? And I'm like, no, that's just my. And I
This
won't
is-
take anybody accidentally picking up my book. That's fine.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
No,
Yeah.
it's all
Like,
good. Yeah.
Accidental and then buy the book, please.
Yeah.
We
I
told
feel like
everybody-
I'm oh, sorry, Ed,
So
go.
Lyn and I
Go.
did a virtual event last night, and we did a writing Q&A, and we told everybody afterwards to review our books, and it doesn't matter if you read them, just assume you're going to like them,
Yeah, that's fair.
and
Mhm.
post the review. So we understand the whole, we'll take it however we can get it.
However you can get it. Just
All
like
good.
whatever. Even if you don't read it, just be like, loved the cover.
Exactly. Right.
Amazing.
It's
Probably really good.
prob-
Like,
this
I make
seems-
up on her.
this seems like a
Exactly.
300-page book. period.
Fair.
That's honest.
Well, take it.
Honest.
Like, Lyn, I wanted to know about the research you did, and I don't know how to ask this without spoiling stuff, so I won't. But there are things
How to kidnap
about
a child?
No, you're not supposed to. I'm not supposed to ask about that. But there were things about it that I'm like, have you had certain experiences that led you to the way that the child was kidnapped, as far as like modes of transport? Was that something you had to look up? Or you're like, it's all fine. Like,
Yes.
Good.
Well, okay, so I
won't say
forgot,
more
I left this part out. So the couple that adopted
Yes.
that dog that fell in love with him,
Mhm.
they told my child they have another dog and they also own an RV and they love to go cross country.
Okay, they cannot read your book.
I know, that's what I mean.
Seriously,
Oh my
Lyn,
God.
I know.
I'm advising you to tell them to not read your book.
And so like they said, you know, your dog is going to go cross country with us, and maybe you can come too one day. And that's
No, guys, just as a parent, I'm going to say to other people, whether you have children or not, do not offer to take other people's children across.
no, but they didn't do it like that.
crying.
I said that creepily. It was not creepy at all. It was like, you know, maybe you can come look at it, like, you know.
No,
just-
we're not saying you said it creepily, or
You're saying
they
they
said it
did.
Oh, they
creepily.
said
Oh no, I thought we are saying that.
No,
No.
They
were
seem
very,
nice though.
Very
I
nice,
mean,
innocent
Real
people. And
nice.
I just blew them up in my imagination.
They're like,
right? Yeah. I mean, definitely maybe give them like a gift bag of your other books,
I think I should.
and
The
just
rom-com, the
and just
rom-com.
like leave this one out completely and be like, you have them all. You have the whole set.
complete set.
Yes.
I thought
Don't
you
go
had
online.
RV experience.
I have no RV experience at all.
Well, and see, where it's creepy to me is when I was a kid, we had neighbors who, like, one of them had sometimes stay with her grandparents, and they had one, and we would go and play in it, but it was just parked.
Right.
And I can totally see why is it so interesting to kids? But it is, and it's like,
is.
there's like this bed above the steering
Yeah,
wheel.
it's like a whole
creepy.
house inside this big thing. But
It's
I happen
also
to.
interesting to adults.
Yeah, it is, right?
I mean,
I
I would want to live in one now if
I work with a guy who lives in one of those converted vans that, you know, is
Allison's
like people
agent
are doing.
lives
I was
in.
gonna say my agent lives, but no, she calls it like her rock star trailer. It's hers.
Well,
Like
it is
their
a rock
touring
star
van,
trailer.
because hers is probably bigger than my entire house on wheels. You know, but I do worry about her because she has driven it off a cliff once. So
Oh my God.
please don't hurt yourself. Stay
Oh my
on the
God.
road. On the road. On the road. She's fine. Trailer, not so much. What?
Wow.
Oh, I thought Lyn was going to say something, and
No.
then I started talking anyways.
Oh, well, Ed, we haven't heard enough from you.
I know.
I know.
We need more,
I know,
Ed.
I know. You're right. You're right.
Can I
yeah.
give?
More
I
Ed.
want to give Ed a few vague compliments.
Sure.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Vaguely
I mean,
complimented.
vague compliments. Ed, I adore you. You know I do. I am never going to look at a coat rack the same way.
All right. Well, that's
I-
very sexual.
It's not sexual.
But for
I
you,
love
it sounds that way.
It does
Oh my
sound
goodness.
that way. I read that entire section aloud to my husband, and he was like, I definitely want to read this book right now.
Yeah,
Like
the coat rack's
right
awesome.
now. And I'm like, well, I'm holding it in my hands, and it was before it was out. So I'm like, you can't until I'm done. And it is
Like
in my
fighting
hands.
over. He's
And
like,
he has to
"Oh,
buy a
oh."
copy, right?
I know. I actually, because he loves audiobooks, I'm like, just buy the Audible. And he's like, well, it's on your account, so buy the Audible. So I want to say coat racks, love it so much.
Christmas villages.
Oh, Christmas Villages. I'm never gonna look at those again. But there was kind of like a throwaway moment towards the beginning of the book where we're in it's Lucky's POV, and he's talking about the mugs that his family has given him, like
Yes.
number one farter.
Farter.
I
And
thought it said father at first, and then I had to go back and read
You're like,
it.
wait a second. No, it didn't.
but I feel like the first time, Ed, you were on this show, you might have been holding a mug that said like world's best, most okay dad or something.
Yes.
Like
Yeah, that my kid gave me.
Dad.
So I was wondering if these mugs, if you have a collection of like passive aggressive dad insult mugs.
I don't. Aside from that one,
Just
I will
that
say
one.
two things. We have, I don't know what it is. So it's my wife and I and our kid. And my wife doesn't drink coffee or tea or anything like that. So it's just me who drinks coffee. And yet
How does she
somehow,
live? I'm just.
I know. I'm like,
curious, what makes
suspect.
you move?
I don't know. What
What
she's
makes her
got a
move?
very strange.
Suspect.
like,
She's
approach
not
to
human.
food. But
Like-
we have like 30 coffee mugs, and I don't get it. I don't understand. I
Where
only
are
need
you
like
coming from?
I don't know. They just we
just
just collect them.
arrive?
They come from like like some convention or a conference
Yeah.
or something like that, or for a while I was getting one from like my kid all the time because he's like, "You
Oh.
like Star Wars? Here's a Yoda mug," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay,
No,
I
You're
can't throw
like,
that
that
out."
is cute. You're
Aw.
7, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, and we had to like actively rebuild our collection because years ago, I had an IKEA, shout out to IKEA, like china cabinet that one day just decided one of the shelves needed to just give up, and all of our mugs went down except
Oh
for
my
one
God.
that was really basic, and I was just the saddest. So some of my friends bought me ones after that are very cute, but not necessarily ones I can drink out of because they're too wide and flat. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
you guys think I'm a lot more coordinated than I am. So
Yeah,
I'm only
like you're in the
thinking
cast of
more.
Friends or something.
No, I'm just like, yeah, this is very cute, but it's so wide. It was like drinking out of a soup bowl, and I'm going, I can't walk with this. I won't get from my place of coffee making to sitting without wearing it because klutz.
The one thing really that I wanted to do that I was I liked all those moments with Lucky, but when I first
This is
wrote
why
him,
he's our boyfriend.
Yes,
yeah, he was. I really
As we're
was
like,
worried
we
at
love
first.
him.
Well, I didn't want him. I was worried that because there's like a comic trope that's really that happens a lot with like a reluctant criminal or something, and there's something.
Oh, he's not that
He's
reluctant.
not reluctant.
He's not that reluctant, but he's conflicted. I was worried he'd be like a joke or a caricature, so I wanted to give him that like
No.
loving authenticity that he has to his family, and that comes out through his Christmas villages and his interaction with the coat rack and other stuff.
I will say, like, the interaction with the coat rack felt so like
Authentic.
it
You've been
was
there.
so authentic. Like, so I don't think it's a spoiler. He was having an anxious moment. Some would call that an anxiety attack. As somebody who is, very familiar with them, I was like, oh, I've never, yeah, like, I felt so seen in such a hilarious and heartbreaking way. I'm like, oh, I felt this.
Aw.
And this is why I started reading it aloud to my husband. And then the scene obviously went in a lot of different directions. And he's like, so you felt that? Like, this is how you relate to it? I'm like, no. It's just the like suddenly like, oh my God, I'm crying.
Aw.
Like,
Oh,
my
that's
God,
really
it's
nice.
happening. Yeah, so that's a legitimate compliment, Ed.
Yeah,
Well,
that's not big at all.
That's like something that I'm talking from my cold dead heart.
No, and I feel like not only was Lucky not a joke character, none of the characters, even when they were funny, were joke characters, including there's some scenes that with Chris where Chris is
The
talking
third person.
about Chris, and they're like, oh, you're doing that again. Okay, we're doing that. and again, it was like someone who's trying to take themselves more seriously, and everybody's like, oh, we're taking ourselves more seriously now. Okay, we'll get in line with that.
Chris
But
is
all of
definitely
them-
taking Chris very seriously.
seriously. But I love the fact that you had multiple POVs to the point where when I was reading it, I'm like, it's going to take me a while to figure out who I'm supposed to be rooting for because I wasn't sure. And as I went on, I was like, okay, I've got to figure, am I still rooting for them? I'm not sure I am anymore. Oh, hold on. I'm not rooting for, well, no, okay, I'm rooting for you again. And it kept changing. And I can't remember the last time I read a book where I was like, hold on, spin a wheel and see how I feel about a character on any given chapter, because you had multiple points of view and then others interacting with each other that I honestly didn't know what outcome I even wanted half the time.
Right.
Wait a second.
Which is so great. Because
Which is
you have, like,
great.
yeah.
That's really nice. Thank you so much. I mean, that was it's interesting because I thought that was I really don't like doing this, but to turn attention away from me just for a second. That's what I really liked about Lyn's book too. And we talked about this last night is Hope did so many things that I
We're on this one now.
did not agree with. And I was like questioning, but I was like, I could see that. I could see making this kind of rash decision and going into places I shouldn't because this kid's missing.
Yep.
And there was the very nice, creepily done part, which I'm not going to give away. But
There's lots of
what I'm
creepy
talking
parts.
about.
There's so many. And
Like,
I'll say,
you gotta be more specific.
There's
Ed,
one in
which-
particular that really creeped me out. But
You mean
I
the neighbor?
yes,
the basement.
So
oh my
I,
gosh.
I
Yeah,
actually have a neighbor, a single neighbor next
Do you
door,
really?
and he's not old. He's like
Oh.
maybe a few years older than me. But
Is
he's,
That
he allowed
is-
to read this one?
That's
Does he know he's
creepier.
in this book?
yes,
too?
yes, because he said, "Oh, is Mr. Alden me?" I'm like, "No, you don't want to be Mr. Alden." But
Maybe a
so
little.
I actually had to Google what is something creepy that an old man could keep in his basement besides dead bodies.
There's so many things.
That's what I say. Like,
you picked one that I thought was both sweet and awful.
Yes.
Yes.
You could see it either way, right? Like,
like I appreciated
people
it.
And basements just scare me in general because I grew up in California, but my family's from Pennsylvania, and my grandfather shot things to feed it to his family because he was a pastor, and squirrel pie, that's a thing. And like my sister would like dare me to go downstairs where all the heads were, and I'm just like, can't do it. Okay, get down there.
So they were like trophy heads, but they were like squirrels and not like a deer or a bear. It was like a
there's not enough meat on a squirrel. No, and seriously, like that's. I mean, my dad later because I just
feel like I need to take notes because that's a great visual I have in my head.
Just the little tiny squirrel. No, my dad got me a cookbook one day. One year, and it was like. It was Mark Whitman's How to Cook Everything. She's done. It was Mark Whitman's How to Cook Everything because he knew I had a Cajun one that had things like squirrel pie. And I'm like, I would never make this for you, Dad. Seriously. But he was worried that I needed. Yeah, she's just like, stop. Sorry, Jen. But no,
I need a coat rack.
Did that that's the area. I mean, I'm in California. We don't shoot anything here. We get avocado toast, and they're all free range avocados, so it's fine. But I mean, like that's the kind of thing that a basement could have, and you never know. And when
your creepy basement was not that, so that's great.
And I recently beta read for our friends, and it had a basement in California, and I'm just sorry to say we don't have basements. So
I know I heard that.
Take that out. I'm like,
you have basements?
No, we don't have basements.
What if your house is built into like a cliff or a hill?
Those are terraced and they're multi-level, but none of them are considered basements. And I've been in basements, but I've never been in a California basement except for one Baptist church. And even that, it wasn't really a basement so much as it was like a lower level where you can still walk out from the basement because it is terraced. But it never felt like a basement.
No, I understand that because my house is actually like that. I'm sitting in a room like that right now.
800 feet tall and like really straight up.
And built into a cliff and just weird. But I'm not California. I'm in squirrel shooting country.
Yes, with cannons. You shoot cannons.
I don't shoot cannons.
You shoot them.
My neighbors shoot cannons.
No, and so Lyn, like you had mochi, which I thought was amazing because my children are obsessed with mochi, both with food and these little things that are called mochi. Yes. So I don't know why mochi is suddenly in the cultural zeitgeist, but I feel like because of your book, and in addition to it, there's probably 8 million animals named Mochi right now. And you go to the vet and someone says Mochi, and like 4 little dog heads pop up. They're all named Mochi.
She looked like a giant mochi, didn't she? I mean, I don't know if you guys seen her, but she's this big. She was this white thing, and she looked like a mochi, so I named her Mochi. And the dog in the book was not supposed to be named Mochi. I was supposed to think of a name, but I just put Mochi in just as a placeholder.
And then it never goes away.
I totally forgot to change it. And it went
until you got it in print, and you're like,
I was like, but it was okay because my mochi passed away in October, so it was like she passed away, and then I got and now she's in this. It's her legacy. So
it is her legacy.
And one of my friends drew a little mochi sticker. You see it?
That's so cute.
I love that.
This is my swag now. I give it out.
I love that.
And they're like, "What kind of book is this?" And you're like, like kidnapping and murder.
Yeah. It's
an adorable dog sticker.
Yeah, but I feel like that sticker needs to be with your rom-com in terms of like cover and style artistically. Whereas
for the rom-com,
I want to read a book about a dog.
For the rom-com, I had these little.
Those are cute. Crazy about you. Yeah, I learned, so my children are becoming obsessed with anything cute and like that. And mine they had dumplings at the store and I bought them for them only to find my middle literally ate out the middle of the steamed pork bun, like just the middle. I'm like, what are you doing? She just sits there just eating out the middle. And she does the same thing with sushi. So it's like she eats the middle and then there's this piece of nori and rice. And I'm going, what is wrong with you, child? Like, you're not just, I'm only going to eat the tasty parts in the middle. The rest is, who needs that? Like,
fine.
That was like $8 of bao. I need to get that back from you, child.
Well, look, I feel like you're spoiling your kids. Just put macaroni and cheese with hot dogs in it. I turned out fine.
You're like, questionable. Okay, so, but swag. Ed, I loved the bookmark swag that came in. I wish I don't know where I sent it. The brochure. And I'm like,
brochure.
I'm not lucky to sell my house. I can't afford a house. I live in California. But pretend I could. I would totally want Lucky to almost stab the HOA coordinator.
Yeah.
That is not a spoiler, because that's like one of the first scenes where I'm like, don't we
That's
all want to
just
stab
parts of
everyone?
his character.
Everybody, HOA is a very hateable villain for everyone.
Yeah.
I was very with the swag, I was happy with this one because last time I did the mass for No Home for Killers, the mass of the vigilante,
My kids did not appreciate that I had that.
Nobody understood what it was. Everyone's like, why did you send me a mask with this book? And I was like, I should have explained.
It's what
that.
made me want to read the book. I mean,
I
we
know.
knew we were having you.
Good.
I got that
Good.
My kids
creepazoid
were
mask, and I'm like, 100% yes. I'm just
We're
going to wear
on.
it around the house.
Awesome. Okay, good. Because I think a lot of people were like, okay, thanks for sending me the old fashioned placemat menu that you turn into a mask.
Yes.
It's just a paper plate with eyes cut out of
You're
it.
like,
Yeah.
I would like the chicken
Yeah.
fingers and French fries and chocolate milk, please. They're like, that's not what this is for.
This made more sense. I was happy with that. But I mean they were like really expensive. But the good thing is that I'm really bad with money, so it doesn't matter.
So who cares?
Yeah.
It's all good.
I love that you're like, they were so expensive, but I'm bad with money, and
It's okay,
my
so it's
kid
fine.
doesn't need to go to college.
It's fine. I turned out fine.
Hot dogs and macaroni and cheese, baby.
Certainly don't feed them things that they're only going to eat the middle of. Like, knowing my kids, they would pick out the hot dogs and leave the mac and cheese. And I would just be like, are you kidding me?
So let me ask. I have a question.
Why
please
are you
stop
here?
interrupting my show?
He's like,
So,
can
Jennifer,
we?
you write horror,
Yes,
and
but
you're
I
working
also
on crime fiction as well.
crime-ish. I call it like book club, but like with a lot of murder.
And
Yeah.
how has that been for you? Because I'm really curious about I only
like,
write
honestly?
thrillers. It seems like it'd
love
be
that
really
answer.
hard to switch genres if you're really versed in one. Like I feel like I know crime fiction really well. If I had to write romance or
rom-com?
something, I would have to I've never even read them. It would be there's so much I wouldn't know.
Oh,
so I'm wondering how do you
what I do? Write rom-coms
work?
without having read them first.
Really?
Yeah. I jumped my tricks and fell in the hot tub. I didn't know what I was doing, and it shows.
So, I mean, I think I'm more well versed in writing horror, or like in the horror place, if it will, the horror space. But I read so many thrillers, and I love crime fiction, and I've always, in my heart of hearts, wanted to write that. But as a total pantser, I just felt like that was not in my wheelhouse, because I would have to know who did the murders and what the end was going to be. So it's a much. There has to be a plot. There has to be a plot, and it has to make sense. And so it was honestly, when I'm writing more crimey based things, it's a longer process, because I am still a pantser. So I'll get 3/4 of the way through the book and go, oh, I know what this is. I know what this is actually about. And then have to go back and kind of retcon it.
Yeah, that's a lot of retconning.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not,
But Jen,
not the
also,
process I should have.
I feel like there is a spectrum there, and I know we've had people on, and I want to say, was it Bracken McLeod who said he was a secular horror author? I'm trying to remember who said that.
It was Bracken. And I only remember this because I just saw him at the House of Last Resort weekend, and he said something similar. So I'm like,
and that phrase, I love that, because the whole idea of where's the line between crime and horror? And
because I think it's they're the same.
Can be pretty horror, and then if horror requires a supernatural element, but it doesn't. It's because
I would
horror
say
ends up being crime in many ways.
Like a home invasion or a kidnapping or an assassin who's just going all of those can definitely be horror.
Yeah, when I told my husband that the realtor, the assassin, even still has a day job, he was like, "Are you kidding me? Even the assassin needs a day job to pay the bills?" Because he's been joking for years. Only people who can afford to buy houses around here are mercenaries, and even they have day jobs in order to pay that mortgage. And Tara says, "Congrats to Ed and Lyn on your releases." Hi, Tara Laskowski. Tara, I saw your pictures of you at 21, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so from when I was also that age, that you can just tell how old those of us are based on the outfits, the hairstyles, the necklaces.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Tara, you're my people.
I know, like every time I'm seeing people post things, I'm like, oh, the overalls, the backpacks, but can we just shout out congrats to Tara?
Agatha nominee
Agatha
for
nomination.
the Weekend Retreat.
Oh, congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't hear
yeah.
that.
So say
Very cool,
something
Tara.
nice, Ed.
Yeah, Ed.
I know.
Nice.
He can't, not when it comes to Tara. She just congratulates me.
I know. Tara comes in, she's like, I love you guys. Congrats, Ed. And
And
Ed's
Ed's
like,
like,
oh, she was nominated for an Agatha?
Yeah. Tara, I'm very happy for you, and I'm sorry that I keep embarrassing you at work with friends. This
That was
makes me
very-
feel
that was
bad for
very
being superior
sincere,
to you in every way. I love Tara. We're having lunch on Friday.
I know you guys are besties.
Which is why this
No,
is
I
even
mean-
funnier. I'm like, just like, what are you guys doing?
Not besties.
Is it not? But
I mean, like, kind of fine acquaintances, correct?
yeah.
Business
there's-
associates.
we
Right,
can
writing
we could both
besties.
do better, but since we can't yet, we're just stuck with each other.
You're just stuck with each other.
Yeah. Eventually, we'll get out of this rut.
Oh,
So, so
Good.
speaking of getting out of this rut,
Yeah.
Lyn, Ed, are you guys forever in this having the same book birthday, same publication
no,
day,
I
same?
I think it's been broken after this, right?
Oh,
okay, what do
Yeah,
you both
well,
have
we're-
coming?
like a
Thankfully,
curse?
we're not under
You-
contract.
oh,
We'll do it again.
well, sorry, everyone.
You're-
Like,
okay, wait. So you had the same editor,
Yeah.
and then both books were launching the same. Does your head editor like hate herself that she had to put two books out with the same deadline? Because that seems mean to yourself. Like, did
Well,
she think
actually-
that? Did she look at the calendar first?
Yesterday was her birthday too, so
She's like,
Oh.
"And on my birthday, happy
I
birthday!"
get that.
happy birthday, Jessica.
happy birthday,
I love it.
Jessica. Yeah. So now you're going to be on separate paths.
I think so.
What if it collides again?
That would be so cool.
It might.
Then that could be the perfect storm. If it happens a third time, then
You never know.
That's
right?
witchcraft at that point.
that's
What do you
witchcraft. That's
have
horror.
coming out next. When are you going to be next?
What's your next thing?
When
Like,
do you foresee yourself being with your next book out? And
Well,
what will it be? Which
I
genre?
do have a thriller that I outlined and wrote 3 chapters for that Jessica has right now. They're probably not going to pick it up, but so there is an idea that we can shop around. And then I wrote an entire upmarket fiction book. I just finished it at the beginning of January and gave it to my agent. So I have another completed book that is
and that probably wouldn't go to Thomas and Mercer because that's more
no, because it's not a
market.
thriller. Yeah,
And
it's-
I love the term upmarket fiction because everybody's like, nobody knows what that means.
nobody
Go
knows
on.
what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's
Yeah,
it
she
could
had
be
to explain it to me.
anything.
Okay, so they used to call it women's fiction, right?
Yes.
And I've
And
always
then they're like,
hated-
that's sexist.
I've hated that term because a lot of men read my books and they're like, why is it called women's fiction? And so recently, I guess it was a year ago, Publishers Marketplace got rid of the term women's fiction and now
Got
are just calling it commercial or I think general fiction.
Mhm.
So my books are that sweet spot. That's what they call it between commercial fiction and literary fiction.
Where
So
it's kind of literary, but it
Right.
still makes money.
but it's still, yeah, and it's still like
Buy
accessible.
You can buy it in an airport, but you've got to
Yes.
be a little bit smart.
Right.
Yes.
It's not just like commercial, you know. So that's why they call it that. And I actually like calling it book club fiction because it is the kind of book that book clubs do
Love.
just a lot. So
Yes.
so
I love it. So Ed, what's happening for you? Do you know?
Are you writing the rom com?
I'm not. I'm writing another thriller. I think I feel like I've been slowly taking a departure from because my first book was classified as hard boiled, and you know me, like a
Like
bad
an
boy
egg?
crime fiction kind of thing, you know. So
Yeah.
obviously that made sense, but with this book now, I feel like I'm going more, and I'm kind of excited about this. I feel like I'm going more to psychological thriller.
oh good.
I've always,
Nice
I mean,
psychological.
I know.
like
like,
I've never written
really?
the big thriller, you know, terrorist attack happening or whatever. They're always
Oh my
smaller than that, and so I think
Smaller?
that's
Well,
Sorry.
that's what I
the direction I'm
love.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
High
yeah, it's what I'm
stakes.
naturally drawn to.
Yeah. No, I love it, and nothing I can say right now because we're live and it's like, oh my God, I
know.
can't say things. You two don't have the same agent, do you? Because I know like
No.
same editor, same. Okay, I was just like,
I don't even know who your agent is.
I have Rachel Brooks at Bookends.
Yeah, bookends. Okay,
Yes.
right.
All right.
And what about you, Ed? We've got everybody's. I've already said where mine lives driving around.
Yeah.
Because
She could be
Jen
out.
and I are agency cousins. Because I have Amy Collins at Talcott Notch, and she's got Paula Mooney at Talcott Notch.
And I know Ed's agent.
Oh yeah, Michelle Richter,
Yes.
with Fuse, who is best friends with
Paula.
Yeah.
And Michelle and I have drunkenly showed each other pictures of our pets for probably a way too long a period of time.
That sentence was
I know. I was
We
like, I was
drunkenly
like,
showed each other pictures of Michelle is she comes to Crime Bake. We love her.
Yeah,
And
she's
you know,
amazing.
after a few cocktails last year, she was like, I miss my cat. And I'm like, I miss my dog. And then it turned into just look at this, look at that, look at my animal.
And then Lynn comes along and puts mochi stickers on everybody.
She's like, I've got merch.
Funny about Michelle. Michelle and I, not 2023, but 2022 Thriller Fest. That was the first time I met Michelle in person, or that the second time. We closed the cocktail night, opening night. We were sitting there drinking, and all of a sudden we look around, we're like, "Are we the only people left here?" I'm like,
Probably time to go back to the room.
Yeah, Michelle's actually also Tara's agent. So
Oh, so that's where you guys are like identical
Hmm.
cousins.
Yes.
As you can see.
Yeah.
It's like the Parent Trap. Or
Yeah.
the Patty Duke
And
show.
she's best friends with Paula.
Yeah, she is. I know. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's a small.
There's like
The
15.
literary world.
There's
yeah.
like 15 of them. And
Yes.
like everybody knows everybody. Ed, Lynn, thank you both for being here with us, celebrating your
Hold them both correctly for once.
co-book
Yay.
birthdays.
I have 15 more minutes of stuff.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's going to be
I
private
had a
time.
whole bit I was going to do. All right.
Yeah,
this
the
is-
Are you
song
gonna
and
do
dance.
like
Yeah, we're cutting it for
a
time.
cat number, maybe a puppet show. It's like
Yeah. It's like
I mean,
SNL. We're like, cut for time, Ed. You can do
yeah,
that.
no.
That
Alright.
will be a web exclusive.
And both
I'm
of us,
just going to do it here by myself.
Alright.
Oh,
and we want to stay on because here's the thing: like a book like this, we have such a hard time talking about books like yours, where
Right.
we don't want to spoil anything, but then we actually want to say, oh, and then this and this and this. So
I
it's
just
like,
have to we just have to scream
Like,
a
get rid
couple
of-
little things. Just be like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
I love
Um,
it, and then we're good.
So
and then
anyways,
I have to
audience,
reclaim
get
my
out of here.
Thank
Like,
you for
because
having
some of
us.
You haven't done the homework yet and haven't read all the assigned reading because it came out yesterday, so it kind of would have been hard. But still, you could have binged both of them overnight.
Yeah.
Binge
there
both
you
of them
go.
overnight.
And are they both
Um,
on audio? Because did you say that this one? Which one was our Roman was looking for this one on audio?
Oh,
already? Both
no,
on
he wanted me to buy it for him on Audible because he
Okay.
prefers audiobooks to the reading
Yeah,
with his
yeah, it's
eyeballs.
Oh, I do too,
Yeah.
but you know.
But
when I
I'm
get
like,
physical
but I
one
was
in my
reading
hand,
it
the audio's
aloud
not
to
okay.
him days ago.
So the
and,
audio is of Jennifer in her room.
Yes.
Yeah. And I like to do things in a terrible British accent, so it's confusing to
Wait,
him.
none of the characters had British accents.
No. No. He's always like, does this take place in England? I'm like, it does not.
It does not.
It does not. It does not.
Brilliant.
Opposite of a book I read once where the narrator was American and the character was British, and it took me a long time to figure that out because apparently that narrator just doesn't like doing British accents, so he did it for some characters but not the main character, and I'm like, I am beyond confused right now.
Yeah.
But you know, it's all
It'll
fine.
be
I
good.
figured it out.
All right, everyone, thank you for joining us live, or if you're watching this or listening to it on the replay, thank you. Make sure to like and subscribe. We are back in a couple weeks with...
We're back with Heron Ennis in a
I know,
couple
I'm like,
weeks,
I don't
but
know.
it got moved, so I've got to double check the date, but it's going to be a Tuesday, and I want to say it's like Tuesday the 27th, something like that. It's not on normal day, so definitely be looking to make sure you are be subscribed to the channel so you get notices
Subscribe to
when
the
you're
channel.
showing up, because sometimes we work around people's schedules and they're unusual.
I love it. So
But
thank you.
Heron Ennis with the
everyone.
leech, so please go listen
Yes.
to it because I did.
I'm excited.
Good.
Thank you both
Bye.
for having us on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye,
So
folks.
polite at the end, Ed.
Right? Yeah.
Only